Someone's got to sit in it now and again.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. Right. Well, Chris, yeah, unfortunately you're in the seat today first, but how do you sum up your performance, I suppose?
Do you know what? I'm really delighted with how I performed it today. If I'd have been facing anybody else in the draw, I might well have run out a comfortable winner. But hats off to Yan. He just played absolutely phenomenal this afternoon. I capitalised on virtually all of my opportunities, and I'm still behind, which is quite phenomenal. Which just goes to show how good of a player Yan is. He's not that experienced at the Crucible, same as I'm not that experienced, but he just didn't give me an inch. And he had 8 breaks over 50 this morning. Yeah. I was lucky to sort of still be in the match. Weirdly, I felt like I played really, really well this morning. Maybe made 1 or 2 mistakes, if that. And I could quite easily have been 8-1 behind, going into this evening thinking I don't know what else I could have done. But it's been a very testing season. I've made a lot of changes. I said 12 months ago when I sat in this chair that I was going to make some big changes to who I am and to my lifestyle, and that I was going to try and lose some weight. I smashed that. I lost 4 stone. And I was a part of a project I'm sure you all know about called Strictly Christmas, which raised over £114,000 for this baby hospice that I'm supporting. I don't feel like today was a loss. I felt like I did myself justice, and I was really pleased with how I played.
It sounds like you're in a really good place at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. It's tough sport, snooker. It's very lonely. You put in a lot of hours on your own. A lot of the graft that we do away from the game, obviously working like physically. I'm out running every day, as well as practicing, and you can quite easily spend 9-10 hours a day on your own, which is difficult, and I understand why. There's been a lot of players over the years. Mark Selby was a good friend of mine. He struggled with depression over the last few years, and he's been very brave in coming out and admitting that. And the support that he's had for doing that is well justified. But it's the game we're involved in. We love it and we hate it, but it's a pleasure to be involved.
And do you think it's actually helping everybody that players are actually talking more about their mental health and how tough it actually is?
Yeah, I've been through a spell of depression myself a couple of times. Most recently about 4 years ago, I went through a bit of a bad patch. I was coming back from a tournament in Belgium and had some really ridiculous thoughts that I don't want to go over again. But literally, I'm not the only person on the tour, and I'm probably not the only person in the room that has had those thoughts. And the most important thing is to talk about it. That's literally the first step to making progress on your mental health, is to be open and honest about it, and get all those around you to support you and give you all the support they can.
I think we've probably come a long way, haven't we, to years ago when people didn't really talk about it at all.
No, blokes in particular. Yeah. Everyone's susceptible to depression, but a lot of blokes, over the years, have kind of hidden away, and you hear about stories in the news all the time, and they kind of almost get kind of brushed aside. Whereas nowadays, people are a lot more aware of the issues that are going on in the world. Being a professional snooker player is a privilege and an honour, but it doesn't necessarily mean that my life's great. The last 6 months everything's gone well, apart from the fact that the mortgage company decided to shove it in my face and say, no, actually you can't get a mortgage. So things like that kind of bring you back down to earth and make you realise that you've still got a long way to go in life. But
it sounds like you found ways of dealing with things, with coping, and will you carry that on into your next season and hopefully come back?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the season that I've had. I'm at my career high ranking now, which is it can only be a good thing. Qualifying for the Crucible 2 years on the trot, again it's something else that you don't want to finish your season not at the Crucible. And there's 128 players at the qualifying. Only 16 of us managed to get through, and everyone else will feel a little bit more disappointed than I do not to have been here. Obviously, the performance that I put in today, I felt like I could have won, but just absolute testament to Yan. Like, if he doesn't win a world championship, you know, that just literally will demonstrate how strong the tour is nowadays. I mean, there's, on social media in particular, like, we get, you know, abused all the time. You know, you get random people telling you how rubbish you are and how you should give up and get a job. And, you know, it's just, you have to brush it off, because, you know, if those people think that I'm not good enough or anybody else isn't good enough, have a go yourself and find out how hard it is. Because, you know, I've got a lot of friends that will watch me in practice, and I'm sure all the other 127 pros will vouch for the fact that in practice we never miss, and, you know, the game's easy. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago I had 10 centuries in about 3 hours, and, you know, I think, how can I ever lose again? This is, you know, the easiest game in the world. But when you're out there under the cameras and the lights, that's when you find out. That's when you find out if you're good enough or not.
And just finally, I just got to ask about the ties, because both of you are wearing these crossover ties. It wasn't planned, was it? Or...
This,
Yeah.
is, to be honest, I'm not a fan of sort of the attire that we wear. I think it's time for us to modernise as a sport. You know, there's a lot of changes that could be made. Obviously, for the World Championships, it's brilliant that, you know, you've got the what's the word I'm looking for?
Attire.
The standards.
Standards, right.
Obviously, wearing, like, you know, waistcoat and trousers and stuff. It's a great way to present the sport. But I do believe that it's time for the sport to move on. And you know, these crossover bow ties, they're a step in the right direction for me. You know, I went through a spell this season of wearing a white shirt with a white tie to just kind of say, well, I'm virtually not wearing one, and no one said anything. So maybe it's time to get rid of them and sort of update the dress code a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much.